Hello dear friends, as you are aware, NMAT 2024 has started. The test taking window is open from 5th November to 20th December. Okay. So now what we are going to present to you is an analysis, a quick analysis of NMAT 2024 based on inputs from the students who have already taken this test. Okay. Okay. Let's take a look at what the exam is all about for those who need more details about NMAT. NMAT is a test conducted by GMAC. Okay, GMAC is the Graduate Management Admission Council. It is the same body that conducts exams like GMAT, and NMAT is the entrance test, the scores of which are accepted by the Narsi Monji group of institutions. Okay, so it is a computer adaptive test. This is what makes it different from other Indian management entrance examinations. Okay, computer adaptive test is different from a computer based test. Computer adaptive means the test adapts itself to the performance of the candidate during the test. Okay, so that is a brief intro to NMAT. Now, let us look at the test pattern. Okay, there are 3 sections in NMAT: language skills or English, quantitative skills or quant, mathematics, and logical reasoning, what we call LR. Okay, each section has 36 questions. So, the total number of questions is 108. Okay, and the total duration of the test is 2 hours. However, please note that each section has a different time limit. Okay, there is time limit for each section. For the language skills section, you have 28 minutes. For quantitative skills, you have 52 minutes, and for logical reasoning, you have 40 minutes. This is the time breakup. Okay, and another distinct feature of this test is that you can choose the order in which you want these 3 sections to appear in your paper. Before you start the test, you can choose which section you want first, which section you want next, and which one you want last. Okay. Now, the score range, NMAT follows scaled scoring. Okay. So, the score range is 12 to 120 for each of the 3 sections, and the overall score range is 36 to 360. Okay. Please note that it is compulsory for you to attempt every question because it is a computer adaptive test. Okay, compulsory. And just in case you are not able to attempt a few questions due to paucity of time, that is by the time you reach the time limit of a particular section, if you have some unattempted questions, you will incur a penalty for these unattempted questions. Okay, fine. Now, let us look at each section individually. Okay. First, let us look at the English section or the language section. Now, this section had around 2 to 3 reading comprehension passages, and each passage had 4 questions based on it. Okay. The reading comprehension questions were mostly of a moderate difficulty level. There were a few, 1 or 2 very easy questions and a couple of difficult questions. That is what our students have reported. Okay. Now, other than reading comprehension, the section had several verbal ability questions. Now, there were para formation questions, or what we call para jumble. Okay. Para formation questions were there, where sentences are given in random order and you have to pick the most logically coherent order. Then you had analogies, this is a vocabulary based question type, okay, where you are given a pair of words which exhibit a certain relationship, and based on that you have to pick the correct option, okay. You have to pick the pair which exhibits a similar relationship. Then there were many grammar based questions. You had error identification, where a sentence was divided into 4 parts and you had to pick the part with the error. Then there was a question type based on prepositions, where you were given 3 sentences and each had a blank, it had a missing preposition, and then you were given a list of prepositions labeled A to F. Okay, so the answer choices were combinations of these letters. So if you identified the right preposition for each blank, then you would get the right combination. And there were also sentence completion questions. Okay, sentence completion question is where a part of a sentence was missing, but these are not fill in the blanks questions. These are sentence completion because it is not just a word that is missing. What was missing was an entire segment of the sentence. Okay, so that is about the language skills section. Overall, the section was easy to moderate. However, the time limit, since there were only 28 minutes for this section, time limit may have been a constraint for many students. But if you had attended our classes regularly, taken the mocks regularly, even the sectional tests, then you would have got some practice in managing your time effectively. Now, let us look at the next section, which is LR, logical reasoning. No major surprises in this section. Questions were on the expected lines. There were many questions based on critical reasoning topics. Okay, the usual critical reasoning concepts were tested here. These were statement based questions, and the topics tested were assumptions, conclusions, inferences. There were also some questions based on course of action. There were questions based on strengthening and weakening of arguments, etc. So that is the critical reasoning part. Apart from this, many questions appeared based on input and output. Okay, input output questions, LR questions were there, and there were also questions based on logical deductions, Venn diagrams. There were questions based on number series, etc. Okay, a few analytical puzzles were also there based on arrangements, deductions. Overall, again, the questions were easy to moderate, and students who regularly practiced all our study material questions and who took sectional tests, etc., would have found this very, very doable. Okay, and we come to the last section, which is quantitative skills. Again, the questions were pretty much on the expected lines. Okay, there were quite a few questions based on permutations and combinations. Okay, there were also questions based on probability, logarithms, percentage profit and loss, and numbers. And there were questions based on Venn diagrams. Venn diagrams appeared in both quant and LR. Okay, simple interest, compound interest, progressions, time and work, etc. Fine. Apart from this, there were data interpretation questions and data sufficiency questions. Okay, so the data interpretation questions were based on either bar graphs or tabular data. So many students report that there was probably one set based on bar graphs and one set based on tabular data. Apart from that, there were data sufficiency questions also. Okay. Now, let us take a look at the expected cutoffs. So we have last year's cutoffs for you here. Please do take a look. Okay. This is the cutoff of all the NM institutes. Okay, all the Narsi Monji campuses. Narsi Monji colleges also have sectional cutoffs every year. So, for the MBA program in the Mumbai campus, which is their flagship course, the cutoff was 234. For the MBA HR program also, it was 234. For the business analytics program, the cutoff was 225. Then in the Bangalore campus, the cutoff was 222. Hyderabad, it was 206. Navi Mumbai was 222, and for Indore it was 206. Okay. So, this year also the cutoffs are expected to be more or less on these lines, on the same lines. Okay. Now, when we mentioned all the question types, okay, one thing that needs to be noted is that this is a computer adaptive test, and you cannot expect that everyone will get the same question types. Okay. So, the number of questions from each question type is bound to differ from student to student. Also, the mix, the exact mix of questions that you will get, okay, that is also bound to be different. So, do keep that in mind. So, that is it for all of you who have not taken the test so far. All the best, do well. Thank you.